Hello, and today I'd like to talk about the price of Expulsom and how I used to go about getting it and how I've adjusted that figure now so that I'm going to incorporate the price of Expulsom along with the price of Umbra Shards and Gloom Dust, because as a Tailor enchanter I have a very specific way of getting my Umbra Shards, my Gloom Dust and my Expulsom, and that's using the Tidespray Bracer shuffle. So what I would do is make Tidespray Bracers. I would then disenchant any blues so that I've got Gloom Dust and Umbra Shard that way, and then any greens I would scrap, and then from that I would get Expulsom and some Tidespray linen and some Nylon Thread returned. So let's look at my prices as they are at the moment. So for my Expulsom, currently it's set at 199 gold, which was based off the price of getting one Expulsom from every 6.5 bracers. So I used the price it cost to make a Tidespray bracer, so that was 10 times the average buy price of Tidespray linen, plus 4 times the vendor buy price of Nylon Thread, and times the whole lot by 6.5. And that gave me a good ballpark for Expulsom. But I wanted to refine that a little bit more because I wasn't taking into account all the other things I was getting back from disenchanting my bracers, and also the Nylon Thread and the Tidespray linen that I also used to get back. So I had a little think and came up with a spreadsheet. So here's the spreadsheet I came up with. So first off, I wanted to get a basic average number of how many Umbra Shards, Gloom Dust, Cloth at Thread and Expulsom I got from using this method. So always disenchanting the blues, always scrapping the greens. And so I got a sample size now, thanks to everyone else who helped chip in with some numbers here. We have all the bracers. I did them in blocks of 100, got 2,000 bracers as a sample size. I'll share this spreadsheet on Google Docs so you can have access to this if you like. And then down here we've got the average. So the average number of blues you get per 100, so that's 15% will be blues and 85% will be greens. Now on average you'll get 20.5 Umbra Shards from that, 23.65 Gloom Dust, that's from the disenchanting the blues, and down here we've got the average cloth is 126 you get back, and 127 Nylon Thread you get back, and on average 13.4 Expulsom. So that's per 100. So then what I did is I worked out the current average buy price I have of Tidespray linen, which up here is 2.82. So I've got loads of Tidespray linen at the moment. I was fortunate enough to buy quite a lot. Prices do go up and down. I currently have 17,000, and then my average buy price is 2 gold 82, which is what I put into my spreadsheet there. Now it's important to turn on smart averages, so go into your settings here, under here, and go onto accounting and use smart average for purchase price. That way TSM will only calculate what you have on you in your bags in your bank as the average buy price, and then that average buy will keep on rolling through as you buy more and more, and that way you'll adapt to the prices as they go. So I'd recommend keeping that turned on, and then also keep an eye on the auction house and keep going through and buying things as they come up so that your average will slowly trend with the market, but obviously you're going slightly lower because you're always buying it cheaper, hopefully. So that's my average buy price of Tidespray linen. Then I looked at Nylon Thread. Now, different ways of getting this. You can buy it from the vendor, which depending on your reputation, at the moment I've got honoured with Borealis, so it's 0.51, so that's 51 silver I can buy it for. But also, if I'm using my Brutosaur mount to buy the Nylon Thread, it comes out at 0.6 because it doesn't take into account faction price. Then also, I've got a shopping operation to look on the auction house and see if any is less than my either vendor buy price, and I buy some then. So my rough average I worked out here. So you've got the vendor buy price here 0.6, the honor reputation buy price of 0.51, an average buy of 0.43, which gave me a rough ballpark figure of 0.51, which I rounded to 0.52 as my nylon price. So using this information I can work out the cost of one bracer, which is 10 times Tidespray linen and 5 times Nylon Thread. I then times that by 100 to give me a bracer cost for 100 bracers. So for every 100 it's going to cost me 3,080 gold to make 100 bracers, and from that on average I'll get back 20.5 Umbra Shards, 23.6 Gloom Dust, 126.85 cloth and 127 thread and 13.4 Expulsom. So then I did a little bit more thinking and tried to work out, okay, how many things do I get back? And I added that up and that came to 312 things we get on average per 100. Then I took off the amount of things we get from the cloth and the thread because I wanted to take those off the overall cost, which you can see down here. I've got the 100 braces cost, which is the same here, 3,080, less the price of the cloth, which is the number of cloth we've got, times the average buy price. So I'm using my own buy price as the price I got back. Effectively, that's returning it to me. Done the same with the thread. So take the average buy price of thread and the average amount I get back, and then taking that off. So that gives me a final price of the other things I get, the Umbra Shards, the Gloom Dust, and the Expulsom. So from that, given that number of things here, is 312, less the cloth and thread, gives me 57 things. Divide the price of the Umbra, the Gloom, and the Expulsom by the number of things, which is 57.6, and that gave me a gold figure per thing of 46 gold. So you could effectively call each thing that I get back 46 gold. So that's Umbra Shard, Gloom Dust, and Expulsom, which I've got down here. Now, I also went a bit further and thought, okay, well, the current price of them, I'm looking at the current market price on my region, which is 144 gold, and the current price of Gloom Dust is 8 gold, and based on my old calculation of Expulsom, it's about 199 gold. And I was thinking, okay, well, those are weighted differently according to the price of them. So Umbra Shard and Expulsom is worth more to me than Gloom Dust. So I added a weighted figure to my things I got back to increase the relative price of those things. So this is where I played around a little bit, and I put in some numbers down here. So this is the weighted value of each of the things. So this is a multiplier to each of these to give me an extra weight on these things. So I've had a little play. I put in 15 for Umbra Shards and 12 for Expulsom. So that gave me some weighted prices. So I took the prices here, because the weighted number of things, I'm adding on the multiplier here, taking off the cloth and the thread, because that's got the same multiplier. And that gave me a larger number of things that divided my gold per thing. So that took my gold per thing to a smaller amount, which I then times by the weight for each one, which gave me some higher figures that were still less than the current market value. So you can see a big difference here. My Umbra Shard price, I had to put that up higher than the Expulsom because I wanted to keep the Umbra Shards relatively close to my region one. So these weightings are fairly arbitrary, but I came up with a comfortable balance that for me worked out. So what I actually ended up with is a weighted price of my Umbra Shards to be 80 gold, my Gloom Dust is 5 gold, and my Expulsom is 64 gold. And then just down here I double checked my figures to make sure that this all added up to the same amount here as the amount here as 100 bracer cost. So that is less the cloth than the thread. So what I'm doing here is working out, okay, so I'm getting back a whole load of things, Umbra Shards, Gloom Dust, cloth, thread, and Expulsom. I'm going to take off the cloth and the thread because I'm going to use that into future tide spray shuffles. Then what I'm left with is the things that got some sort of value to me, the Umbra Shards, the Gloom Dust, and Expulsom. Add a weight to that based on my relative prices, and then that gives me a value of the 3 items I want to add a value to. So you can see that is quite a bit different to the current prices of the Umbra Shards. Now if I were to sell those on the market, obviously you can't do the Expulsom, but we've got a value of everything that we've just done. So the Umbra Shards, based on this price, are worth 2,959. The Gloom Dust is worth 189 gold. That's actually based off the cloth and the thread. It's not this Expulsom value here. And then I add in the value of the cloth and the thread. So by doing this, and if I just sold the Umbra and the Gloom, it's worth to me 3,500 total. So that gives me a good idea between my tide spray price, the cost to make 100 braces, versus the cost if I were to sell the materials that I could sell, not counting the Expulsom. So I can see that this is a positive value, which is a great start. And then down here I've got my 3 weighted values, which is less than the values I had previously, which means more profit for me. So what I then had to do is work out a formula string that I could use to put into TSM that is based off of my spreadsheet like this. So I took these values and I worked my way backwards up the spreadsheet, taking each of the calculations and put them into a formula here. So if we go down here and we look at the basic formula, the base formula is the weighted number of things times the weighted gold per thing divided by the average amount you get from there. Okay, so the weighted number comes from the average number you get times the weight. The weighted gold per thing is the cost of 100 braces less the thread and the cloth. Divide that by the weighted number of things less the cloth and the thread. So each of those means 100 bracer cost, okay, 100 times crafting of tie spray bracers, minus the average buy price of tie spray linen, times the average number you get, which is currently at 126.85, minus the average buy price of nylon thread, times the number you get back. Then over on this side, we've got, for the weighted number of things, is basically everything not including the cloth and the thread. So the average number of Umbra Shards, average number of Gloom Dust, average number of Expulsom. I spelled that incorrectly there. Just changed that. And these are my weighted values here of 15, 1 and 12. So this I then put into a formula and worked out what each thing would be to get me down to here. So this long string for each of these is the TSM equivalent of my spreadsheet. So the price of the Umbra Shards is all of this long string, the crafting cost of a tie spray bracer, the average buy price of tie spray linen, and the mat price of nylon thread. I use matPrice here because in the custom price string I can put in my own value for nylon thread, and it's a lot easier to work on it that way without increasing this to a really long string. Now I've kept all the maths behind these figures intact without condensing them into one number, because for me that means I can easily change the weighting. I'd have to change it for all of these 3 strings to give me the correct prices, but if I wanted to increase the weight of Expulsom, I'd take all these 12s, there and there, and I can increase or decrease that value and all the prices will adjust accordingly. So I'm using a mix of the spreadsheet over here and my formula over here, and then I can put those into TSM. So I'm just going to go through and copy and paste these new strings into TSM. So to get here we go to crafting reports, materials, and then type in the search for whatever you want, like in this case Umbra Shards. And so I'll go in here, I'll take this, Control A to select everything, Control V to paste. I'm going to paste the whole string in as it is. You won't see it update immediately until you reopen this window, and then we're going to go through, search for Gloom Dust, take this whole string, change the price there, and then Expulsom, and pop that in there. So if I close this down and open it up again, and have another search for those. So the Umbra Shard price now is 80 gold, which is down here, my 80 gold in my spreadsheet, so that's correct. Gloom Dust now comes in at 5 gold, which is down here. There's a slight variation in the numbers, probably just down to rounding differences between the spreadsheet and TSM. And then my Expulsom price should be about 64, which comes out there. So now if we were to look into my crafting for enchanting, go across over here to enchanting. Now interestingly, we've got a lot more profit, because if we're only getting our Gloom Dust and our Umbra Shards from here, then effectively we can sell a lot of these things for a profit. So that's the strings. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or ask me when I live stream on Twitch, or I've got a Discord as well. I'll put all the links for those below, and I'll put a link through to the spreadsheet and do a screen grab of the formula calculation so you can all see that and weight your own values, see how you get on, and I hope you find that useful. And until next time, happy gold making, and I'll see you very soon.